we can have leaders from amongst ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Because it leads to an inferiority complex. This inferiority complex is serious, brothers and sisters. It is serious. And we have to be careful of it. Now, we've broken up these talks into 4 distinct areas. First, and today, will be African Muslims in America before slavery. Parentheses, before Columbus. Before slavery and before Columbus, because Columbus, the arrival of Columbus represents the arrival of Western imperialism. If we want to talk about the beginning of Western imperialism in the Americas, we have to start in 1492, when Columbus sailed the ocean blue. That's when we have to start. And if we say and try to calculate how many people have been killed all over this world as a result of Western imperialism, go ahead and start with 1492 and come up to the present day. You will have close to 1 billion. Close to 1 billion. Just in the last 5 to 8 years, my respected brothers and sisters, 5 million Muslims have been killed. Just in the past 5 to 8 years, at least 5 million Muslims have been killed. 5 million in the past 8 years. So Western imperialism has to begin with the arrival of Columbus, who they kind of hushed it up real quick, but it came out not too long ago that Christopher Columbus was Yahud. Yeah, it was in the papers and stuff, but they didn't follow through with it. I wonder why. Yeah, it came out that Christopher Columbus was Yahud. He's a Jew. You know what I'm saying? Old Columbus. Old Columbus. So today, inshallah, Africans in America before slavery. Next week, inshallah, Africans in America during slavery. The week after that, inshallah, on February 21st, which also will coincide with the martyrdom of Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz, Malcolm X, African Muslims in America, quote unquote, after slavery. And then the last talk, inshallah, will be African Muslims in America, the roles and responsibility towards the new millennium. What is the role of the African American Muslim today? The roles and responsibility, and we hope to show, brothers and sisters, that our roles and our responsibility is rooted in our history. So as we go over some of this, and keep in mind too, we are nowhere near experts of this topic, but we are students of this topic. We're students of it. And so each and every day we're trying to delve into it more and more and more to find out more and more about this. Because this is serious business. And sometimes when you've been broken down for so long and taught that you're a nigger, and taught that you ain't got no kind of contribution, because that's what a nigger is. That was when they brought us from Africa and took our names and took our culture, took everything and stripped us down. You are now a nigger. That's what you are. You have absolutely no contributions that you've made to humanity. You're what we made you, and that mentality still comes out. When this whole Ebonics question came out, if you checked out the language that they were using, the ones who were speaking out against Ebonics, if you check out the language that they were using to just blow away the whole concept of Ebonics, check out the language they were using. The translation was, y'all belong to us. What you talking about? Y'all got your own language. Y'all got your own language? You dress like us, you walk like us, you talk like us, you got names like us. How dare you say you got your own language? They were insulted. Not only were they insulted, but they were laughing at us. Ebonics, was that UBIB, weeby, huh? Right? They was making fun. They was making fun of us, right? The audacity for y'all to say that y'all got something of your own that you can call your own that is a language. Look at your name, Ralph. Look at your name, Johnson. You eat pork like us. You have Super Bowl parties like us. You follow our customs. You follow our culture. You belong to us. You are our slave. You ain't got nothing to call your own. That's why when we come to this Islam and we go through the process even of changing our names, they deal with us differently. And that is historical. As we will see next week, inshallah, the slave master dealt with African Muslim slaves differently than they dealt with those African slaves who were not Muslim. And that same tendency continues to this day. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You see what happens on the job. How they deal with African Americans who are not Muslims, and how they deal with African Americans who are Muslims, you see who gets the respect, you see who gets the honor, and you see who's the most afraid of too. They respect us. We're very intelligent, very articulate, but we're also the first ones who will stand up too. That's historical. That's historical if we study slavery. And that same relationship existed. So therefore we'll see it today. So we change those names and they look at our names, they tell us stuff like, what country are you from? That's a compliment. That's like saying, y'all don't belong to us, huh? You ain't one of ours, huh? That's what they're saying. You ain't one of our slaves, huh? Well, where are you from? Right? Because they see that name. And it points to a culture. It points to a heritage. So we got to be careful of that. We got to be careful of that, inshallah. So sometimes when you've been broken down like that, brothers and sisters, and you've been told that you ain't never did nothing, and then information comes out that's totally opposite, that slave mentality kicks in. That ain't true. Black people ain't did all that. Because that slave mentality comes out. We ain't do that. If we did that, how come they didn't just tell us? There's some of our people who think that way. If we really did that, we'd have been told that in the schools. That would be on TV. That would be in the newspapers if we really did that. He ain't that bad. All right. Inshallah. Today, brothers and sisters, we want to deal with the aspect of the African Islamic presence in the New World before Columbus. We're going to deal with some dates and stuff, so please bear with us, inshallah. We won't deal with too many, inshallah. By 1513 of the Christian era, it was well known that African Muslims had been to the New World in a major way. Not just got there and then left. By 1513 now, it was well known throughout Europe that African Muslims had been in the New World. We want to talk briefly about the Muslim map makers. We want to talk briefly about, for example, why in the world would Muslims have all this information? Why would the Muslims be the major navigators and so on and so forth? First and foremost, as some of the historians point out, we pray 5 times a day. We got to know which way Mecca is. We got to know the direction. We got to make Hajj to Mecca. If we're in China, or if we're in Africa, or if we're in the so-called Far East, we need to know how to get to Mecca. So there was a necessity for us as Muslims to know the directions.